committed to the health of our people. But having come now to Abuja and listened to Professor Mohammed Pate and his team, we are now more committed. So the traditional rulers of Nigeria will now go home and work harder than before. But I must tell you, Mr. President, that personally, I don't feel very happy because you were not here in the morning. There were several speeches. We listened carefully. I listened to the opening address by His Imperial Majesty, the Owner of Ife. And he was gingering all of us to work as a family, to work as a team, to see Nigeria as one. And then I felt maybe this is good. But when you look at it, this same Imperial Majesty is arranging to confer a very high honor on Sunday Igboho, who in my own part of Nigeria in the southeast, we see him as a counterpart of Nnamdi Kanu. And my brother, fellow royal father, the Imperial Majesty, does not seem to understand the pain in my heart when Nnamdi Kanu is in Sokoto. So, sir, the ball stops on your court. Bring this man out. If we don't want him in Nigeria, return him to Kenya or London, where they took him from. You see, some of us here are being asked to go and work, but the young people in the southeast are so agitated. They can even beat us. They see us as sellout. We come to Abuja, they may think we come to collect money. And then we keep quiet. So, sir, please do something about this. Do something.
That was Igwe Lawrence Agbuzu, a traditional ruler from Enugu State, speaking truth to power, telling the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that there is double standard in the treatment of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho, and he demanded that Nnamdi Kanu be released because of that perceived double standard. Now, this viral video you watched has now made the presidency to react, and the presidency reacted through Sunday Dare, the special advisor to the president on public communication and orientation. And he claimed that Nnamdi Kanu's case is different from Sunday Igboho, and that they are not the same thing. That while Nnamdi Kanu wants a separation from Nigeria violently, was going about it violently, that Sunday Igboho was doing his own peacefully, and that is the gross of the matter. That Sunday Igboho is a peaceful agitator for separatism, while Nnamdi Kanu is a violent agitator. But when I look at the history of the case against Sunday Igboho, there is no difference between the two of them, because the charges against Sunday Igboho was similar to the charges that was made against Nnamdi Kanu: terrorism and treasonable felony. Terrorism and treasonable felony. And the charges against him was filed by the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. Okay? And he addressed press conferences where he accused Igboho of participating in terrorism and act of treasonable felony. Now, number one thing you should know is that following a raid on Igboho's residence in Sokoto, Ibadan, in 2001 by the Department of State Services, arms were recovered in his house, and there was exchange of fire between the DSS and Igboho. 2 people died in that raid. We're going to look into the arms that was found in his house, but first of all, let us look at the reason why you can say that the presidential aide lied in his presentation, in his defense of why Nnamdi Kanu should be in prison while Sunday Igboho should be a free man. Now, Sunday Igboho was arrested following the raid on July 2021. Sunday Igboho was arrested in Benin Republic in July 2021 while attempting to flee further, because he flee from Nigeria following that raid. So while he was in Benin, Nigerian government used its own contacts and connection to track him down there and got him detained. And the Nigerian government, through the Attorney General then, Malami, and security agencies, pursued his extradition. And in the extradition paper that declared him wanted, these are the things they told the Benin Republic. These are the reason that they wanted him to be extradited to Nigeria, to come and answer charges for treasonable felony, terrorism, illegal possession of firearms, and the related crimes, such as conspiracy and stockpiling arms to destabilize the country. Now, the charges against him were also broken down to 11 count charges, which all revolve around treason, treasonable felony, and firearms offenses. And this was because of his agitation for separatism. And they say that the allegation was he's using violence to separate the Yoruba from Nigeria. So you can see that there is no different from Nnamdi Kanu's charges. In the case of Igboho, they found arms in his house. It was a record, you can Google it. They found arms in his house. Armed men. And you know, he wasn't the only one that was charged for this reason, for terrorism, treasonable felony and all that. His men. Because don't forget that at the beginning I told you, during the raid there was exchange of fire. A massive one between the DSS and the Igboho's men. So for the presidential aide to come and say that what the man was doing was a peaceful one is not true. What happened was that when Tinubu became president, the Attorney General of the Federation, Fabemi, sort of stepped down his case. Stepped down his case, the case that Malami was pursuing against him. They stepped it down. That's why his name was removed from the wanted list and all that. And that's why you can see him, they're about to give him a traditional tattoo. That's what the traditional ruler was making reference to. He's going to be honored with a traditional title because his matter has been dropped by the state. And who is the state? It's Tinubu and Fabemi. They are the one that decided that Igboho has no case. That Igboho has no case. In the case of Nnamdi Kanu, there is no record that firearms were found in his house. Okay, there was no record of that. The only thing they are accusing Nnamdi Kanu that he was saying on social media, on radio, inciting people. But Igboho himself was alleged to have participated in the act of doing some of those things. And he was proud of it. And he's still unrepentant about it. In fact, as a matter of fact, when he was set free by the Tinubu administration, one of the first things he did was to go to London and submit a petition to the British government, to the office of the Prime Minister, well documented and celebrated in Nigerian media, asking the British Prime Minister to support the separation of the Yoruba Nation from Nigeria. That was his thank you to Tinubu administration after his release. His thank you to Tinubu administration after he was released is to go to London to reinforce his desire for Yoruba Nation to separate from Nigeria. After he submitted that letter, which he did with fanfare, addressing press conference in front of the office of the British Prime Minister, number 10 Downing Street, the President of Nigeria there was no reaction, there was no condemnation, there was nothing of that nature to condemn Igboho. You would have thought that the Tinubu administration would say that Nigeria is one. Nigeria is an indivisible nation. That Sunday Igboho has no right to call for the separation of Yoruba Nation from Nigeria, and that the British government should disregard him. There was no statement at all. Okay, so these are the double standards that people are pointing to. Now, when the DSS raided Igboho's house in Ibadan, these are the items that they recovered from the house. 7 AK-47 assault rifles, 3 pump-action guns, 30 fully charged AK-47 magazines, 5,000 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition, 5 cutlasses, 1 jackknife, 1 penknife, 2 pistol holsters, 1 binoculars, 2 whistles, 50 cartridges, 18 walkie-talkies, 3 voodoo charm jackets, traditional body armor, and 2 laptops. Now, the thing that the DSS recovered from his house, that doesn't show somebody who was looking for separation in a peaceful way. This kind of thing could have been found in the house of Mahatma Gandhi when he was leading peaceful change, whether in South Africa or in India. This could not have been found in the house of Azikiwe when he was leading a movement for Nigeria's independence. So let's Sunday Igboho and co not play with the intelligence of Nigerians by telling them that Igboho's case is different, that he was pursuing Yoruba Nation agenda peacefully, while Nnamdi Kanu was doing his own violently. That is not what the record shows. The record shows that Igboho's case and that of Nnamdi Kanu is no much different. In fact, they are one and the same thing, if you like, because when you look at it, they are all charged for terrorism, they are all charged for treasonable felony, they are all charged for incitement and whatever. So you can see that if you want to be fair to both of them, you have to, like those who are agitating for his release, that Tinubu should do the needful to do for Nnamdi Kanu what he did for Igboho. They have a point there. And the presidency, which is Sunday Igboho speaking for the presidency, I don't know whether his statement was cleared by President Tinubu before he issued it, but the truth of the matter remains that with the facts and figures we gave you here, you should be able to argue and prove to doubting Thomases that if Igboho could be walking free and even have the audacity to go to turn down the street to demand for Yoruba Nation shortly after he was released by the Tinubu administration, surely Nnamdi Kanu can also enjoy the same privilege. That's my take. But whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video, and if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you.